Good afternoon, boys and girls. This is Mr. Morton with your drop-in unit created by the 4th grade team. And up on the board you see a question mark with 3 times 7. I'm going to give you a few minutes. I want you to think about 3 times 7. As you're thinking about 3 times 7, many of you probably thought of 21. Some of you probably thought of a picture, maybe not hearts, but flowers or dots or X's with 3 rows with 7 in each. Some of you may have thought of an array. Some of you may have thought of repeated addition, 7 plus 7 plus 7. Today our goal is to multiply a whole number by a unit fraction. So we're going to multiply a whole number by a unit fraction, and unit fraction comes from your first lesson that we taught. Remember, a unit fraction is a fraction with a 1 in the numerator and a positive whole number in the denominator. So we have a 1 in the numerator, a 4 in the denominator. That is a unit fraction. 1/2 is a unit fraction. We have right here, we have 4/5. It has a 4 in the numerator, so this is not a unit fraction. We have 1/5, a 1 in the numerator, that is a unit fraction. We have 2/9. A 2 in the numerator spot means this is not a unit fraction. Here we have a 1/8 with a 1 in the numerator spot, that is a unit fraction. Remember, this came from your very first lesson that we worked on 3 days ago, lesson 8. So today we're going to multiply, and our objective is to multiply, and we're going to come up with the fraction 4/5. And we have several steps that we're going to go through to find or to multiply 4/5. The first step is find the unit fraction. We know our denominator is a 5. And the unit fraction with the 5 in the denominator would be 1/5. So that is our unit fraction. The second step we're going to do is we want to use the unit fraction to write an addition sentence. This comes from adding unit fractions whenever we work in lesson 8. So we have 1/5 plus 1/5 plus 1/5 plus 1/5, and that equals 4/5, which is the same thing that we have up here as part of our goal. Our next step is to write in word form using the total number of unit fractions. So if we were to go all the way back to our first problem here, 3 times 7, I could have written it as in word form as 3 groups of 7. That is word form multiplying 3 times 7. We could have looked at it as 3 groups of 7. So now that we're on step 3, we want to write it in word form using the total number of unit fractions. So in 3 groups of 7, we got the 3 because there were 3 times 7. Here we're looking at the total number of unit fractions, 1/5, 1/5, 1/5, and 1/5. We here have 4 groups of 1/5. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Those are 4 groups of 1/5. So step 3, I want to write it in word form. The very next step is to write a multiplication sentence. And this is simply 4 times 1/5 equals 4/5. And that would be similar to saying 3 times 7 equals 21. So here we're writing multiplication sentence or an equation using 4 times 1/5 equals 4/5. So the next thing we go to is this nifty chart that we've used throughout the lessons. In the top left, we learned that as a traditional thought. We have our area model. We're adding operations, the different operations that we can use with the fraction 4/5. And we have decompose. So when we're first learning multiplying fractions, we're going to put the 4, which is a whole number. A lot of times we're going to put the 4 over 1 and make an improper fraction, which 4 over 1 is 4 times 1/5. So we have 4 times 1 is 4, 1 times 5 is 5, and we get 4/5 as our fraction. That's our traditional thought here. The next thing we're going to look at is an area model. Remember, area model is the fancy word for picture. In our area model here, we have 1/5, 1/5, 1/5, and 1/5. And when we multiply these together for our area model, that equals 4/5. So we know that 1/5 times 1/5, or 1/5 plus 1/5 plus 1/5 plus 1/5 is our 4/5. And there's our area model. Operations. We're going to go through everything we've learned so far using 4/5 to work on an operation. So the first operation is multiplication. And we have 4 times 1/5 equals 4/5. We have learned to add it. I can add it using unit fractions, or I could say 2/5 plus 2/5 equals 4/5. I now am going to look at it from subtraction. So I could say 5/5 minus 1/5 equals 4/5. The very next one that we have is decompose. And remember, when we decompose, it is breaking down our fraction. So I'm going to write it as an equation. 4/5 equals, I could say 1/5 plus 1/5 plus 1/5 plus 1/5. I could also decompose it as 3/5 plus 1/5. I could decompose it as 2/5 plus 2/5. And that's decomposing. All of these are strategies that we learned in Lesson 8 and Lesson 9. And we're going to apply those and add more to it in Lesson number 10. So in your traditional thought today, we're going to do our traditional thought for multiplication. In the past days, we've done our traditional thought for subtraction and addition. But today, focus on your traditional thought for multiplication. In your area model, be sure to draw your area model. Let's draw those back in so that it is, in this case, it is our unit fraction written up there 4 times because we have 4 groups of 1/5, and it's going to equal the total of 4/5. And then down here in operations, your focus or your goal today was to multiply using a whole number times a fraction. We have done that. We also have used addition and subtraction in the past, and we want to add those in as well. Tonight, what we'd like for you to do is you're going to take 3/5. You're going to draw this chart in your math journal just as it is here. So when you get to this point in the video, you can pause it so that you can set up your chart. You're going to give us your traditional thought. Remember, I want you to use multiplication. You need to draw an area model representing 3/5 using the multiplication. You need to decompose it at least 2 ways. And now I'd like for you to show us the operations, multiplication, addition, and subtraction to get our fraction of 3/5. Do not forget that you must find your unit fraction first. Please refer to the beginning of the video where we laid it out into the steps. Step 1, find a unit fraction. Step 2, use the unit fraction to write an addition sentence. And we have done that for you there. So if you need to rewind the video to this point, you can do so, or you can pause here. Step 3 is to write it in word form. 4 groups of 1/5. It's just another thought when we're looking at multiplication. And step 4, write your multiplication sentence. When you get to your chart, be sure to do your area model as well as your operations, decompose, and traditional thought.